This is a Headgum podcast.
Hello. This is Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about politics, and where we are nervously awaiting debate day. Ew. I am your host, Negin Farsad. And do I watch? Do I listen but stand in another room because I can't watch? Either way, we're recording this episode before the debate, but with any luck, we'll have a little bonus for you in the feed the morning after. Instead, today, we're going to talk about looking for a man in finance, trust fund 6'5" Blue Eyes. We'll also talk about that new Louisiana law about the 10 Commandments, just to keep things light and fun. And finally, baby naming trends will be explained once and for all on this show. Now, you guys, today's panel is exquisite. Andrew really outdid himself this week. And it's, he was just telling me about his Pride celebration coming up this weekend. And so I feel like he's just like really going for it with this panel. Joining us, you've heard him on the show before. You loved him on the show before. He's a comedian. He has a new audiobook out called Let's Hang Out. And you can get that on Everand. And it's an audiobook about how to make friends, which I feel like everyone needs to immediately listen to and like do the thing. It is the wonderful Chris Duffy. Hey, Chris.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
I am also joined now. This gentleman sort of needs no introduction, though I will in fact give one. He is a legendary comedian. He's host of the podcast The Three Questions. He's got a new call-in show on Sirius XM coming out on July 24th. It's called the Andy Richter Call-In Show. It is thus titled because he is the iconic, the beloved, and the one and only Andy Richter. Hey, Andy.
Why, thank you very much. I'm glad I got on this call because wow, I feel very puffed up now. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be here.
Let's take that ego to the entire content of the show. Let's just have all be.
I will be a monster.
Folks, before we're going to get into the show, I just want to remind you all. Sorry, is there a problem? No. Is everything okay? Okay.
You were frozen for a second for me. For you too,
froze
Chris?
for a second. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. God damn it. All right. Well, before we get into the show, I just want to remind everybody that you can support the show by going to patreon.com/Negin Farsad. You get bonus episodes of the show for as little as $4 a month. It's where we have the most fun, where we let our hair down, where we answer life's great questions. So go ahead and go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad. And thank you so much to everyone who does that. You're the best. Let us get into it now with topic number 1. Okay, so I don't know why this happened, but a content creator posted a little riff where she said, I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. And she asked people to set it to music. They did. 38 million people have now viewed it. There's been tons of versions of the song. It's like the song of the summer, like it's ubiquitous in that way, except for I'm not even sure if it's a full... Again. Oh no! Did I freeze again?
We hear you again now. It's just like a momentary froze. Yeah.
I'm just going to close all of the things that are possibly getting in the way of that. It should be a little bit better. Okay. So this is like song of the summer level ubiquitous, although I'm not even technically sure if it's like a full song. But my question to the both of you is, what did this one lyric tap into? Like, why did this become so huge?
I have a lot to say about this one. First of all, it's always so strange when you see people on the street listening to this song and you're like, that is not the person I expected. I've seen like a middle-aged security guard listening to this and being like, that is when you know it's really broken out. But first, the few things that in my immediate first listen, the line that really stood out to me was blue eyes. And I was like, that is a problem. This is not, as soon as you got to, you're looking for a man with blue eyes. I'm like, that kind of says the kind of man you're not looking for. And I feel like that's a real problem. But I also feel like this is an indictment of the economic system of the United States, because the only way that you would be looking for a man in finance with a trust fund is if you don't believe that there's any chance of you making enough money to survive on yourself, because you know that a man in finance with a trust fund is not going to treat you well. That is not a healthy relationship. That is purely economic security.
Yeah.
Andy?
I'm not that familiar with the song part of it. I mean, I've seen it. It's like one of those things that sort of has floated through my social media transom, but I haven't really latched onto it. But uh, for my full understanding, was the original post of it was it unironic?
No, it was ironic.
It was always ironic.
Yeah, because she was sort of like making fun of friends who are like, no, like I'll date whoever. I just like it's just like I'm looking for like a man in finance with
I
like
see, I
a
see.
trust. She's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
making fun of women who are like, I don't have any like rules. I'm looking for these 6 particular things.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean, that kind of person. Well, it's like it comes out as a comedic sort of, oh yeah, that kind of person, poking at them and saying like, what an archaic attitude, and it's so fucked up and so yesterday and so kind of incorrect. But we're in a presidential election that is neck and neck, like that. It's like, and that's not funny, but we're basically talking about the same thing. We're talking
Right.
about that, like wanting blue eyes and a trust fund and in finance. That's right now 50-ish% of the country is basically saying, yeah, us too,
Yeah.
So I think that it's just like one of those kind of comic reactions to something that happens that's deeply terrifying, deeply troubling, and and um, you know has me thinking about moving. It's a funny meme and a catchy song, but I mean, yeesh.
Well, it's funny because there's a couple of things about this. There's like that meta sort of like what is it saying about America analysis that Andy so thoughtfully just ended on moving, and also there's this other version of it which is literally when you because I live in New York City. Believe you're both joining me from LA.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So I live in New York City where such a man exists, right? In finance with blue eyes and a trust fund. I can find one of those for you. And the interesting thing is I remember when I was in my 20s and I was like posting my memes about men I was looking for. And we talked a lot about iBankers. I don't know if there's any anyone out there that was like dating in the 2000s and 20 teens, like we always talked about iBankers, like investment bankers, because there are so many of them, and they would always go in packs to bars, and they would wear certain kinds of dumb shirts that they would untuck, like whatever. So they had a particular look, and we were always avoiding the iBankers,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I guess it was short-sighted of me. I guess I could have been a rich gal if I actually indulged in any of those dudes. But I dated one for a minute and I just didn't. It wasn't enjoyable.
Negin, what was your
not that
song?
you can't be.
What would your song have been if it wasn't I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes? What was yours? What were your lyrics that you were looking for back in the day?
My song was like, I'm looking for a man in the arts with stability somehow.
Okay, yeah. So you also had trust fund just implied.
So yeah. I'm looking for a male unicorn. If anyone knows of one, eye color it doesn't matter, but as long as he is a unicorn, then yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I fucking totally ended up with an actor.
Yeah.
He's black, so he doesn't have any of the, and he doesn't have a trust fund. So he fails at this song 100%, but he's a wonderful husband at the end of the day. So I don't know, but it's also interesting because on the other thing that I feel like it's like tacking on to is the trad wife trend, the stay at home girlfriend trend. Which is so interestingly anti-feminist. It doesn't make me want to move from this country, but it does make me want to like grab a bunch of ladies and be like, didn't you hear about the stuff Gloria Steinem said that one time? Can we all like take a minute and think about what we had to do to get to the point where we're here and we get to have jobs? I don't know. So that upsets me a little bit.
Well, it's really, well, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No. Please, Andy, go.
it's hard to navigate some of these things because, as Chris said, the first step of it being blue eyes that makes sets off your alarm bells. But
Yeah.
then again, there are people that have, and I don't understand this at all. Like all these kind of physical requirements, or even like I, like if a Jewish person wants to date a Jewish person, that seems like you're limiting yourself. But then what do I know? Maybe there's enough sort of like cultural and familial touchstones that will help you understand each other better. But like I've never understood like, oh, I gotta have a brunette, or oh, blonde. I mean, it's always been so weird to me. But
Yeah.
some people want that. So it's like, okay, blue eyes, like you want blue eyes. But then you do know, like, yeah, but that's code for something else, And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I
Right.
just really like blue eyes. But, well, okay, fine, like blue eyes, but that it's going to mean something else to other people. Like, so I
It's
don't
a
even
little
know.
it's a little too Caucasian forward for anyone's
Yeah,
taste.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, too, there's also, when you say, like, you want someone with stability, you could you extrapolate that into trust fund, which that could, I mean, it's a difference of degrees, but it is saying the same thing, which in and of itself is a little bit anti-feminist. Like, somebody's got to have money. Is
This
I
relationship,
get it.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it. Like, my wife, one of the things that, and because I'm newly remarried, and one of the things that I loved about her early on was like, she had her own business, she had a career, she was a full-on grown-up woman.
Hmm.
And I was like, she does not need me. Like, anything I bring to her life is a value added kind of thing. It's not
Yeah.
like she's not looking to me to complete her or fix her, or do anything for her other than to, cook and clean, basically.
Hmm.
So
Andy is the
I,
trad
I
wife.
mean, yes, I'm the trad wife in that situation. No, but I mean, I can understand, like, that you want somebody that's stable, and stable in our capitalist society means money. So to me, I'm always confused a little bit by like somebody saying, like, I'm forward thinking, I'm a feminist, I'm progressive, and I need a mate with money.
Hmm.
It's in that itself, it seems a little
Right.
contradictory to our sort of the ideal. So to me, there's always like, well, yeah, there's what's right and what we all agree on, and then there's real life where there's like, yeah, but
Well, this is my theory about the social media piece that you're talking about here, Negin, is like the trad wife and the I'm looking for a man in finance. All of these, my theory is that it's so hard to just survive these days that everyone just wants a break. Like, I'm like, if the break is I date a horrible man who has a trust fund, fine. If the break is I have to wake up at
can't
4:30
have
a.m.
everything.
bake sourdough biscuits for my 14 children, at least I don't have to go into work anymore. And that my theory is
Yeah.
that eventually this generation, all the social media viral trends are just laying the groundwork for universal basic income. Like, Mr. Beast will become president, and then the theory will be, hey, everyone gets to be in a Mr. Beast video, which just means you get a briefcase full of enough cash you need to live for the year. That's great. Now we have it as a policy. We can do it
Yeah.
on a government level.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? It's funny because I think there's a connection between that and, like, it's sort of like, okay, now that the pandemic stimulus checks have fully worn off, right? They've made their way into whatever savings account or whatever, and now it's just like we're really on our own. We're like, I guess we just need to look for trust fund babies, or you're right, or like something like the child. This comes back to what Andy was saying at the very top of the segment, which is like, it comes back to the presidential race, which is maybe you're voting for a child credit that you just get a check every month because you fucking have a hard time paying for your kid, maybe that's what this, like, which is fucking ridiculous to say all of this about a TikTok song. I concede, but still, I think she didn't know, but what she was saying was, you need to really vote in this election because we need some more more stability. You know, we need a safety net. That's
I
what
love
she's
putting
saying.
that on her.
Yeah.
I love. I think we need to give her the credit for that. That is the secret ulterior motive of that song becoming the viral hit of the summer. That's incredible, Negin. I love that.
All right, folks, let me know. Is this song playing on repeat in your house or what? Or did you get kicked out of your house because you're broke and you need a man in finance? Let me know. I'm so curious. Let's take a quick break so we can hear about our sponsors. And then when we come back, we'll continue to chat. And we are back and we're ready for topic number 2, folks. Louisiana went full Christian commando last week when Governor Jeff Landry signed a bill into law requiring that every classroom in Louisiana display the 10 Commandments on a poster-sized display with, quote, large, easily readable font next year. And well, I mean, yeah, so these are going to go up because apparently, I guess the founding fathers ratified the 10 Commandments, as we all know. So I guess my first question to you, Andy, when you heard the news, just what did you think at first blush?
I'm not gonna live in Louisiana. I just don't. I don't. It's also there is. I don't have a lot of reaction to those things these days because and I feel like I've heard this from a lot of people. And you mentioned the debate, and are you going to watch the debate? And just hearing people say like no, like I don't need any more information, and I don't need any more anxiety. But it's just so stupid, and like so many of these things, these sort of like right wing, like put your foot down kind of stuff. It at its root, it's just stupid because the like having something on the wall at a school is going to impact children in any way whatsoever. It just won't matter. I mean, are kids washing their hands? Every sink they go to, there's a sign that says wash your hands, but my kids don't always wash their hands. So and I love too, Chris Hayes did a piece on this, and I've read other things about it. This whole 10 Commandments thing happened and got popular because it was part of the publicity campaign for the movie, the Charlton Heston movie, The 10 Commandments. Cecil B. DeMille, who was a very kind of religious conservative person himself, but in preparation for this big movie, he had stone tablets installed at state houses and city halls all over the country to sort of as a rollout for the movie. So this is not coming from,
It was merch.
Yeah, it was just merch, and it was all movie, and it didn't have any sort of like ideological or theological base. It's Hollywood bullshit. It's just nonsense, it's such a conservative white person's idea about like, well, I did this window dressing thing that makes me feel good about me. Does it do anything actual though? Nope. Don't give a shit. I got to say what I said, and I put a flag out, and yeah, but does it do anything? No.
So, I mean, my question though for you, Andy, is you're making both arguments, which is like, so if it doesn't really do anything, so what? Who cares if it's in the classroom?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what it does that's harmful is that it does assert Christianity in a place where Christianity is not supposed to be asserted,
right,
in a public school. So yes, that it does do that in a harmful way. But I mean, Christianity's pretty front and center. Like I can't imagine that there's a lot of Hindu kids going to school in Louisiana that don't already feel a little bit like Christianed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I'm against it, and I would not want it to happen, but I also don't think it's not gonna do anything that they think it's gonna do.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris,
it's about them feeling good.
Chris,
it's
what
a
was your feeling about it?
self-stroke. Yeah.
I had two reactions. My first reaction was as a comedian, and then I had a reaction as a human. And as a comedian, I spent years working at an elementary school teaching 5th grade. And my first thought was, this is going to make a lot of teachers have to have discussions about adultery with their kids. And oh boy, is that going to be a horrible conversation. Excuse me, Mr. Duffy, what is adultery? And I have to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm about to lose my job by answering that question.
Yeah. What is covet? What does covet mean?
Yeah,
And,
totally.
Why would someone covet their neighbor's wife? And then I just start sweating and go, well, it depends on your neighbor and their family. And oh boy. So that was my first reaction, is there's going to be a lot more adulterous conversations in schools in a way that is a horrible backfiring. And then my second is, I grew up in a family where my mom is Jewish and my dad is Christian. And I think that as a result of not being told this is just what you have to believe, that I have a much deeper actual relationship with spirituality and religion. And I think that whenever you try and make it so like you have to believe it, it's not a choice, it's a prescription, you take away a lot of the meaning out of religion. And I think by forcing it down people's throats, you actually push people away. So I think it backfires on all costs. You're going to have little kids learning the word adultery, and you're going to push people away from the religion.
By the way, I'm one of those people, like as your resident Muzz, who doesn't just like offhand know exactly what the 10 commandments are, like what each one of them are. And so I was like, let me just revisit those, because I think the only reason I ever knew about them was the Charlton Heston movie that plays, I think, every Easter or something on TV, right? Like that's what happened. So I go, and it is like, you shall have no other gods before me, which is a strong being Christian out one. You shall not make idols. I can see that also being a question. Like, what does that mean? You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. These are very specific. Anyway, honor. It's funny because the argument that Louisiana legislators have continuously made is these are good for everyone, no matter what their religion, although they do really specifically in some cases really like Sabbath day is very something like very Christian and Jewish. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. I think that's a good one. And you shall not commit adultery again.
We can all get behind that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, if you want to put a thing on the wall that's like, don't murder anyone, I'm like pretty into that, just generally. You shall not commit adultery. You mentioned you shall not steal. That's another good one for the kiddos. I think a 5-year-old could get behind understanding that. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. I would, if I was 5, I know my daughter's 5. I know she would not understand like what that means. And you shall not covet. She would also not understand what that means. So I think you're right. Some of it is a little like too advanced for the first through third graders among us. But I think
the 5th graders are all going to be like, I couldn't do my homework because I was observing the Sabbath. I'm so sorry. You put the rules on the wall. I couldn't do the work.
Exactly. Well, because the other thing that I don't understand in terms of founding father stuff is why isn't this just the Constitution? Just do the Constitution on the wall. Make that a nice little rule, and everyone will be like, well, that's really patriotic and great, and like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, fine. I don't think that would be controversial, which brings me to my second point, which is related. This to me feels like, and this show talking about it is exactly what they want. They want us to waste time talking about this dumb culture war stuff, and so that we don't focus on more important issues like looking for a man in finance, like the same, like this, like more important issues like taxing the very rich or climate change or whatever. They're like, let's wrap everyone up in this fucking garbage that doesn't matter. Going back to Andy's point, it kind of doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's get liberals really riled up and they lose focus and they fucking talk about it. And so it's like, if Biden gets a question about this on Thursday, hey guys, I'm going to watch it with me. Let's have a good time. We're only doing optimism on this show. But if Biden gets a question about this on Thursday, I hope that his answer is, I don't want to get involved with that stuff. It doesn't feel like particularly relevant, because what is relevant is money to, you know,
Yeah.
and tax credit and child credits and climate change and healthcare. Like that
Yeah.
stuff is the stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about like whatever, like a stunt, a publicity stunt by Governor Landry.
Well, also
Yeah,
having been in a 5th grade classroom, I'm like, you all have money to make posters and give them out? I've been paying for my own posters. Why can't you print some of the posters that I need for the academics?
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. How about some pens?
Yeah, if I knew we had a poster budget, I wouldn't be at FedEx Kinko's with my personal credit card.
This is so true, because how much money is being appropriated for this dumb thing?
Yeah.
Okay, now I wanted to bring up one more thing, which is like the separation of church and state thing. I'm super into it, okay? And I am loving the idea of religion doesn't get involved. And and I say that as someone who, you know, we live in New York City, and they added a bunch of holidays to the New York City Department of Education calendar. So kids take off, like they've been taking off Jewish holidays ever since since before me. They take off Christmas, obviously, that one I'm fine, federal holiday, whatever. They take off like the veterans, the Martin Luther, all that stuff. But they also take off Eid, which is like, you know, shout out Muzzies. And then they also take off like Diwali, I think.
Mhm.
And my feeling is we shouldn't take off any of those. And like as a Muslim, for a second I was like, oh, that's nice. They added a Muslim thing. That's really nice. But then I was like, no, separation of church and state. I don't need the kids to like to think about Muslim stuff or whatever. Just as like I don't want them to think about Christian or Jewish. Like I just don't want it. I don't need it. I like the kids to think about it as you know, as like a point of history. But to recognize these holidays feels like, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather them just be in school getting instructed. And they don't lose instruction. It's just they push the year out. Like this is the last day of school for New Yorkers, which is late. It's late in the season. And the only reason it's so late now is because of these additional holidays. So I'm sort of like, I don't know. What do you guys think of the New York City Department of Education calendar?
I don't mind there being big world religions, big holidays being celebrated in a polyglot world like New York City. I don't mind that at all, because then it makes the Christian kids go, what is Eid? You know, what is Diwali? And then because it's one of the big problems with this country is an insular navel gazing about everything. And you can't, you know, like to say like, well, then let's not have any religious holidays in school. You're never going to get people to let go of Christmas. Like Christmas, you know, Christmas is Christmas, and Christmas now you can make the case that, well, it's more than just a Christian holiday, but yeah, but it's you know, not really. It is. It's Jesus' birthday.
I want Christmas. Like Christmas is like a lovely time of year for me personally. So like I totally don't want to get rid of Christmas. Although I should mention that in the first, I don't know how many years of the Republic, it was not a federal holiday. They didn't take it off. Yeah. They worked on December 25th. So there was a time when they were very strict about the separation of church and state. I totally see your point. It's nice, right, for these world religions to be recognized, blah blah blah, for kids to like maybe have an extra learn about them or whatever. But I don't know. I'm personally like, it's a slippery slope.
I get
That's
you.
my feeling.
Well, you know, the way you're talking about it though is like, that's like how they do it in France with the laïcité, where they're like, it's the removal of all religion rather than the accommodating of religions, and that creates all sorts of its own problems. Where then it's like you can't wear that in the school because there can't be any outward facing stuff. So I kind of am like,
yeah, it's not black and white. It's not black and white.
And also, we're talking about like culture war stuff. There's a lot that we all relate to, which is everybody likes a day off. Come on.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I'm still the kid that's like, wait, what is this day off for? Who gives a shit? You
Don't
know?
ask too many
Yeah, just
questions.
take it, enjoy
Yeah.
it, totally.
Yeah. A snow day without snow. Love
By
it.
the way, can I say, I've said this before on the show, but a day off that I would like to see happen is Election Day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's make that
Absolutely.
a holiday, folks. Federal holiday. So Andy, this is the last question. This segment, Andy, you're not going to watch the debates, maybe? You're not?
Oh no,
Or-
I will. I
Okay.
probably will, but I might.
You heard from a lot of people they're not going to.
Yes, I heard. I've heard a number of people say that it's too anxiety provoking,
Right.
and which I understand because I have been a lot more checked out of this election than I was the last one.
Yeah.
And every sort of 800% matching, Biden needs your
Text,
help kind of text that I get go right to like delete and report junk because
Yeah.
it's like I just can't. I've given money and it's like, but just stop. I can't
Yes,
do
it's
it,
making me crazy. Yeah.
and because like I say, the fact I just can't get over that what the choices are and the fact that it's a horse race. It's just like, like I don't know if you've ever been like involved in a situation where your entire family is letting you down, like where you're just like, are we really doing this? Oh shit. And you just want to get out of the car and go live in another house. That's the way I'm feeling right now. It's just like, really? This is where we're at? This is a difficult choice. And then like, well, business leaders are leaning towards what? What do you I just can't get over it. It just is such a cartoonishly simple question to me. And Donald Trump does make my skin crawl. But I can't not watch something like this, especially since there is only one, correct?
I believe there's another one in September.
Oh, there is. Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. I
Well,
mean, I
I
may
mean, we'll
switch over
see.
to Family Feud at some point.
Yeah,
A
you'll definitely
real
need
debate.
a palate cleanser. I
Yes.
might watch it with friends, sort of like to soften the blows, make it a little bit more festive.
Yeah.
Chris, are you going to be watching it?
I guess I will watch it. Although it is one of those things where I'm like, I cannot imagine a single thing that could happen that would in any way change what I'm going to do. But maybe something will happen. That would be incredible, right? It would be incredible to watch it and have some sort of new information where I'm like,
It's
you
kind
know
of
what?
It's not for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking I would probably read the coverage the next day and see all of the things that happened. But I'll watch it now that you've made it a fun thing where I can be like, I'm gonna be communing with my friend Negin. I will watch it for that.
All right, folks, hit me up. Are you watching the debates? It's okay if you don't. I will watch them for you. But yeah, I don't know. We're all nervous. It's fine. Okay, let us move on to topic number 3. We saw a piece about baby naming trends, and I couldn't help but talk about it. Apparently, these days, trends are defined by many different names with similar suffixes, which I didn't see coming. But before we get into that, let's first talk about our names, our kids' names, and the pressure of naming. Now, you're sitting with a Negin, and if you had a nickel for every time that happens, your names are Andy and Chris. So what went into those extremely common names?
Chris, you go first.
Well, the answer is clearly not much. Right? It was like, I look around, I see 20 of them. That sounds good to me. I also, again, I said my mom is Jewish. My mom, truly, this is a joke, but it is also true. My mom, I was 3 years old before she realized why there were no other Jewish kids named Christopher. And then she was like, oh, I get. Your dad really won on the naming. Yeah. She was like, Christopher. Yeah. Oh, no. Yes. If I pronounced it like that, I would have thought differently. She was like, I always liked the name Christopher.
Christ,
now I
get, Christ.
Yeah, I get why there weren't many Jesuses also in school with me.
That's funny because it didn't strike me. No, that there are no Jewish Chris's.
Yes, but there was one famous one, and then after that, not many more. But
what was the famous one?
The guy himself, Jesus Christ.
The Christ.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, I was thinking Chris Stein of Blondie.
Okay.
Oh, is that where your mind immediately went to?
Yeah. I was because when you said it, I was like, "Do I know any Jewish Chris's?" And I thought, "Well, Chris Stein, right there."
Yes. And those are my two.
But I'm not going to waste valuable show time trying to come up with other ones.
My two
No,
are
let's like have a pause in the
Yeah.
show and really put our minds to it.
well, Negin, I
Andy,
bet this doesn't
where's your
happen
name?
to you.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was just gonna say, Negin,
Go
I bet
ahead.
this doesn't happen to you, which is I frequently get either confused by or email for other people with my exact same name that are not me. Like I get through my website, my comedy website,
Oh.
I get hundreds every year of people emailing me with questions about raccoons because there is some sort of like raccoon pest management expert who is also named Chris Duffy. And I literally have a thing up
wow.
on my website that says, I can't help you with your raccoon pest management problem. That's not me. And I still get the emails. I'm imagining that doesn't happen to you, Negin.
Well, the funny thing is, the thing that does happen to me because people can't tell the gender of my name. One thing that used to happen to me a lot, like especially when I was like, for some reason, when I was making, I made a bunch of movies, and when I had to deal with like distributors or festivals or whatever, I would frequently get emails that were like, "Dear Mr. Farsad," because they just assumed that a director of a movie, if the name is gender confusing, then they would just be like Mr. Farsad, and I always thought that was interesting and also a sign of the times. But
So
no,
Negin is the new Pat, is what you're saying.
exactly. And the funny thing is, my name is not like extremely common in Iran, but it's the word for like, it's kind of embarrassing, and I don't like people knowing, but it is the word for jewel. That's what my name means in Farsi.
Oh.
It's jewel. So which since the pop star Jewel from the 90s, I have felt embarrassed about that. But anyways, but
You don't like
Andy,
Jewel?
did you? No, she was great. I don't know. For some reason, I find it embarrassing. Like, I don't know why. But Andy,
Yeah, and Jewel does
Yeah.
sound like a name of like the leader of a cartoon girl band.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Jewel and the
Exactly.
Gemstones. I mean, I'm sure that there was probably something close to that.
Yes, and I mean, there were so many Iranian pop groups called Jewel and the Gemstones.
My name is I'm Andy is my middle name. I'm Paul Andrew.
Oh shit! Okay.
And my older brother is Lawrence August, and he's Gus. And my dad was Larry, and they didn't want to do Larry Jr., so he's 3 years older than me. So my mom had already set this precedent of calling a child by their middle name. So I was Paul Andrew, and my mom denies this, but I remember asking her at one point, because it's like one of those things that you don't, like I don't question. I get to about 19, I'm like, hey, wait, why do I go by my middle name, And it also, I grew up in a rural area, and I knew a lot of kids that were like, at home they were Linda, but at school they were Amy, but most of their family called them Sis. Like all
Right.
these, and there's all these different reasons for all of it. But I asked my mom once, and she says this isn't true, but I think it is. I remember her saying this. I said, "Why did you call me Andy?" And she said, "Because I named you after my Uncle Paul. But then after I named you, I realized I don't really like Uncle Paul." Like, okay, that tracks with most of my mom's logic. So it was like, all right. So I've been Andy, which has been it's sort of inconvenient and can be weird, but then it also, like, after I got out of college and all the credit cards came due and bill collectors were calling, it was a good way to weed out the bill collector calls, because if they asked for Paul, I was
You're
not
like,
home.
yeah,
He is not here.
yeah.
This is his roommate, Glenn. I don't know why I picked that name out of there.
It's interesting because so the way your mom sort of named you is kind of in keeping with the way that names used to happen, which is like kind of handed down by other generations.
Yeah, I was wondering, Chris, the Jewish thing of like honoring previous generations by using the same letter of the first name?
Oh yeah.
Did you do that?
They did that with my middle name.
Like, did you have a grandfather that was Carl or something?
No, they did that with my middle name. I have my middle name is Ian, and it was like Ida was my mom's grandmother, and my dad had a a grandparent with an I as well. But they didn't do it for the Christopher was just the Christopher.
Not for the first name. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious.
Is Negin a family name?
That's interesting. So no, I think they just thought it was cute or something.
Just a little jewel.
Whatever. But the thing that's interesting now is that there's a lot, like this is the suffix trend. So the Jason curve was something that was really fascinating. In the 2010s, boys names ending in SON were really popular, and the name Jason dominated in the 70s and 80s. But then what happened was they were like, oh, Jason's kind of been used. So then they started figuring out other names, but with the same suffix. So instead of saying Jason, they would be like Mason, Jackson, Grayson, Carson, right? There's all these SON names. Yeah. So the suffix is the thing that sort of like continued. And they've done a lot because apparently the Social Security database on names is like quite thorough. So they've been able to like track a lot of the suffix trends. 49% of girls' names and 48% of boys' names have the same ending. Whoa. Which is like wild to me, like how
and what is it now?
Are.
What is
right
that?
Now? Mm-hmm.
What is that ending?
Right now, I think the ending for girls is an L. Well, there's the two main ones. I think it's LE or LY or LEY or LEIGH, which is like Ashley.
Yeah.
So and names ending with that, and also with names for girls ending in IA or like so. I didn't put down any examples.
Like Olivia,
but like
Olivia, Cecilia,
Mia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mia,
wow.
exactly. All of those, which I mean, it's basically every name of a girl in my daughter's school. She's by the way, also just A at the end. She once had to go to 2 birthdays on the same day of 2 girls both named Gemma.
Wow.
And so there was just a lot of that happening.
My 4-year-old in preschool, there's 2 boys named Atlas.
Oh.
Right.
Which I had never encountered another Atlas, you know?
So the suffix article came out in the Washington Post, and then a couple weeks later, this article came out in the New York Times. It was like, are we at peak baby name? Which is a name like Atlas speaks to that. So it's not based on the suffix analysis, but just based on people trying to come up with a name that they think is not found in many places. So they'll go to these naming experts and they'll be like, I don't want more than like 25 other people from the last year to have been named. Whatever we name our kid, can you come up with a name? And these naming experts will come up with some random like names that sound within the realm of like something you may have heard, but like not exactly. And one of the examples they gave is one of these people named a kid Woods, which feels like, okay, I mean, yeah, I can see that. But Atlas feels like exactly, I mean, that's crazy. There's 2 in one school.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of tells you how there's just groupthink, whether we know it or not, you know, like it's like at the same point in time, 2 similarly, you know, temperamented couples were like, what's a good name that's kind of different? Atlas, you know, and so they both.
What is the nickname for that? Is it like Addie or Lassie?
I guess, Lassie. Well, I think that's one of those names that's hard to diminutize, you know, with Atlas. It's so easy to say Atlas.
The at
there's
symbol.
It's like there's a lot of pressure with that name.
Right,
what?
Exactly.
They just use the at symbol,
he said. Yeah.
That's fun. There's a lot of pressure with that name because I feel like it's like forces them to be more academic than they might otherwise want to be. You know what I mean? There's something
forced
about
into
that.
libertarianism from an early age. My mother Ein.
Well, I have older kids and a 4-year-old, and my 18-year-old daughter's name is Mercy, which my ex-wife picked because she was looking at, and she did probably exactly the sort of thing you're talking about. She was looking at the most popular names of like the 1860s. And she was kind of choosing from that list. And Mercy was, I mean, it's a beautiful name, and I really love it. And when we named her that, like within about a month, Madonna adopted a child named Mercy, and we were like,
Um,
oh shit, now everyone's going to think that we stole from Madonna.
Folks, are you paying good money to find someone to get you a name? Or are you using your generational names? Or do you feel like we've reached peak baby name? I would love to hear some names, like wild names, that you have encountered in at your kid's school or whatever. It's like, it's all I think about is like how many of these name. I mean, it is so like the trends are so clear once you get into school. All right, folks.
At my daughter's high school graduation, there were just so many girls' names that to me sound like subdivisions, that have like aspirations to sound like English country manners,
Yes.
like I don't, like Woodbine, or all these. And I actually made a joke on online the other day that I said, no one's got a classier name than my daughter, Gated Community.
Woodbine is off to UCLA.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Windbrook, Stone Forest. Well, it's like I just am like, hey, is this a person or a McMansion?
Andy,
That's
you have
hilarious.
a career here. If you were going to pay the naming expert, instead just send that money straight to Andy and take one of those.
Send
names.
it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy just
I'll
gave you
spit
guys
one
like
out.
4 free names. So,
Yeah.
take those. That is the end of the show. And what a wonderful show it was. And what I would really love is for the people of Fake the Nation to be able to follow you in all of the wonderful things that you do. Chris Duffy, where do they do that?
You can find me at chrisduffycomedy.com.
There it is. And also, what's the name of your audiobook? One more time.
Oh, yeah. And thank you so much for helping me promote the only thing that I'm supposed to be promoting. You can find all of my information at chrisduffycomedy.com. And also, my new audiobook is out on Everand. That's Everand. And it is called Let's Hang Out. And you can get that right now.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear this book. I'm so excited. Andy Richter, where do they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Richter, Andy, spelled out. It's Andy Richter will not let me have that name. And then I have their Andy Richter call-in show on Sirius XM, the Conan O'Brien channel, and I have a podcast called The Three Questions that is available on the streets, wherever you find your podcast.
Wherever you get your drugs, that's where you can also get that one podcast. Folks, you know where to find me and all the things that I do. Just a reminder that I'm joining the Great American Punchline Tour. You can see us in Milwaukee, in Muncie, Indiana, in Hazard, Kentucky, in Memphis, Tennessee, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You can get tickets at bit.ly/Great American Punchline, and theoretically also on my website when it is updated. Okay, but go to bit.ly/Great American Punchline, and you could definitely get your tickets there. And I really hope you come out because it'd be so great to see you guys. Otherwise, I'd love to thank everyone who makes the show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to everyone at Headgum. Thanks to Gaby Alter for our theme music. If you have any questions or ideas, you can email us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to go to patreon.com/Negin Farsad to support the show. Don't forget to review the show on Apple or on Spotify because it really does help people find the show. And oh my gosh, don't forget that you're amazing. And thank you for listening. And we'll be back in your earballs next week. That is it.
Woo! Oh, that was
Andrew,
great.
are we
Negin,
good to
you're so
stop
great.
recording? You guys, what a fun fucking show. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
This
Oh,
will
so
come
fun.
out tomorrow.
Okay,
And,
great. Oh, wow.
and Andrew's going to send a bunch of stuff, so hope.
That was a Headgum podcast.